Happy New Year. Hello and welcome to Halfway with Hathaway. Season 1, Episode 8, first episode of the new year. Hope everybody had a great holiday. I'm George Hathaway. Happy to have you here listening in wherever you may be. So really appreciate it and really blessed. Let's go into a great new year. A lot of great content coming up. So I'm super excited just to be talking to you guys about sports and of course, for your listening-ship as well. So make sure to follow the Halfway with Hathaway podcast wherever you're listening. Subscribe on YouTube, like, comment, interact with the questions that I also post on the podcast as well. But let's get right into it. Here we are, a few days away from the national championship game. Michigan, Washington. Who is winning this game? I was on Burner Talk podcast with my good friend Jay, talking to him a little bit about this, so make sure to go listen to that. And I was saying that this is going to be a good game. I think Michigan is going to win. I'm going to be upright with that. And no discredit to Washington and what they're doing, and Michael Penix Jr., who is throwing over 4,658 yards this season. Unbelievable. I think he is going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL. And he's phenomenal. He has a great arm, but I think Michigan's defense is the reason why the Wolverines will win. We've seen many games throughout this year where J.J. McCarthy, puts up 100 yards. He's only had a few 250-plus games this season. So they're able to perform without their offense playing at their best, but their defense is able to hold these teams to about 20 points a game. And we saw that in Alabama in the semifinal matchup that went into overtime. That was a thriller to watch, really was. It was a great college football game with two of the most elite programs in history going at it. I think what we're seeing is great for the sport, right? We don't have an SEC powerhouse school in the national championship game. It's been a while since we've seen a team like that, or even a team like Ohio State in there, or Clemson. So I think this is good. This is a good, refreshing start for college football. They're going to be going to the 12-team playoff this upcoming season, so that's going to be fun to watch because you have teams, especially in football, it's how you finish your season. A lot of these teams can start a really hot streak when it comes to conference play, then going into the conference championship. If you win your conference championship, you are automatically in the college football playoff. So I think that's going to add a lot more pressure to these teams that could possibly, lose in these, and these it'll make these bowl games a lot more meaningful. We won't be seeing these opt-outs like we have been seeing with FSU in the Orange Bowl against Georgia where they got blown out by 60. I don't even want to talk about that because they absolutely embarrassed me. Because I've been riding with FSU this season, especially with them not being in the college football playoff. I thought that they deserve it and that this game against Georgia will prove it, but then everybody opted out. And I think that's cowardly. I really do. If you had something to prove, you should go out there and play. It's as simple as that. But what do I know, right? So I think Michigan's going to win strictly on their defense in this national championship game. They're able to hold Alabama, who has a very good offense, to 20 points. And Blake Corum, one of the best running backs we see in college football right now. 25 touchdowns on the season, possibly could have another one in the national championship game. The ground game's working for Michigan. I think their offensive line is very strong. They give McCarthy a lot of time to really move in the pocket and able to look at all his options and then make the correct play. And I think that with Washington, their offensive line is going to have a tough game, especially with Michigan's front line. They're going to be giving Michael Penix Jr. a lot of pressure where he's not going to have a lot of pocket time to be able to sling the ball down 50 yards. And with that, I think if we can see Penix be able to move on the run, it's going to be a lot of pressure on him. He's going to feel that pocket collapsing and become a little bit claustrophobic in there. So I think that Michigan, their pressure is going to be the real test for the Huskies in this national championship game. So I'm rocking with Michigan. And, talking to Jay a few days ago about this, Michigan's the line is 4.5, and that's what we're taking. Jay told me, he's like, use this for Jay's parlays, because he hasn't been here. He's sorry, but he was just saying that Michigan minus 4.5, we're taking that. I'm slamming that as well. And then over under 56, I'm taking the under. Just because of Michigan's defense, I think they're going to be able to hold, and that offense just can't produce a lot of points for the Wolverines. So that's why I'm riding the under with that, which is 56. So yeah, those are Jay's parlays. He came in there clutch with minus 4.5, and then the under being 56, and Michigan winning. I think the money line was like 190. On minus 190 for Michigan winning. So that's why I think I'll take that as well. I mean, you could ride all three of those for Michigan. But yeah, it's going to be a good game. This is good for college football. You're not seeing the same teams over and over again. And it adds a lot more flair. This is going to bring a lot more recruits to a lot of these schools. It'll help out. So I think that with it all kind of happening in the sport of college football, with the transfers, the NILs, there's a lot going on. So with that being said, we're in a good era for college sports, in general. And I believe personally that the NIL, for whatever these contracts may be, should hold these kids accountable to playing a bowl game. You want to, get your money and get paid for playing the sport you love, then don't opt out, of a bowl game, a meaningful bowl game, like the Orange Bowl. Like, for instance, these FSU players, it should be in their contract, you have to play in the bowl game, no matter what, which will entice these kids to play. It's just like a contract in the National Football League, which has incentives. Okay, you make the playoffs, there's an extra $1 million. You make the next round, extra $1 million. You go to the Super Bowl, this is how much more you're getting. You win the Super Bowl, boom. It will add on. It's these incentives, because a lot of kids these days are incentivized to do something. It happens in the workforce all the time as well. With, being paid is just not enough. You need to be incentivized. I think that's the word, right? To get something out of it. And that's just the world we live in nowadays. And I think that these kids should be held accountable in their NIL deals if they want to get an extra bonus. I think that's the bare minimum that should happen. And I think it's right. It's right, because just like in the NFL, you're going to have these contracts. They're going to hold you accountable to a certain amount of yards, certain amount of touchdowns, so on and so forth, that will give you more money in your pocket, which everybody wants. Who doesn't want that, right? So I think that's just the whole deal with the NIL. Maybe relook at that, especially some of these contracts from, different organizations and companies that are going to sponsor these kids to go out there and play. I think it's the bare minimum. At the end of the day, there's no way around it whatsoever. Staying on the gridiron, Dalvin Cook to the Ravens, clearing the waiver wires. J.K. Dobbins, Keaton Mitchell, both hurt for Baltimore. So I think Dalvin Cook, a good addition. Really great running back, 28 years old. He's almost towards the end, but I think that he still has some juice in those legs, and he's able to run really well. He wants to play for a contender. At the end of the day, you play in the NFL to win a Super Bowl, and that's what Dalvin Cook is trying to do. His best shot is with Baltimore. I don't think Baltimore is going to win the Super Bowl, but I think his best shot to do so is with the Ravens. And with these injuries, he's going to get a lot more touches. We'll have to see, Lamar Jackson is a very mobile quarterback, to see how that's going to work out. But I think this is a great pickup for the Ravens, because Dalvin Cook's an amazing running back. Good to see him back in purple. It's not Minnesota, though, but same color scheme. So, yeah, that was in recent news there in the NFL. Also going there, the NFL Pro Bowl, they announced who's going to be on the teams this season. no Patriots players for the first time since 2000 that we haven't seen somebody from New England in the Pro Bowl. And that's pretty crazy to think about because Mac Jones was one of the last ones to be in there. And he hasn't been good since. Some notable players I'm just going to go through. I know I'm going to be missing a lot. In the NFC, their quarterbacks, you have Purdy, Prescott, Stafford. Pretty solid, I think. AFC QBs, you have Tua, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes. Another good list. I mean, I'll go through some more. Running backs in the NFC, you have McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, Kyron Williams. I had him on my fantasy team. I won my fantasy championship too, so I like that. And then for receivers in the NFC, you have CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, Puka as well. So really good, I think. I like that. Tight end George Kittle, Sam Laporta. Really, I think. I like that. And then going to the defense for the NFC, Nick Bosa, Montez Sweat, Aiden Hutchinson, who's a nasty defensive end. I really like him. Aaron Donald is another name. Micah Parsons is in there. Fred Warner, Bobby Wagner. Really good names. Let's just keep kind of going through here. Let's see. I think going to the AFC now, there's some names that are some snubs that I'm looking at, and I'll go in those shortly. Raheem Mostert, James Cook, really good. The brother Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. I mean, it's Derrick Henry. Let's see, Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Jamar Chase. I like those. Travis Kelce for tight end. Let's see, who else? I'm just going through some notable names. Myles Garrett. I had the Cleveland Browns for my defense in fantasy. Really like that. Max Crosby, he's a beast. I mean, that dude is crazy. Chris Jones, TJ Watt, Khalil Mack, Pat Surtain, Sauce Gardner, Jalen Ramsey. So some really good. This is going to be a good team. It's a good game. I mean, the Pro Bowl was just a whole kind of thing, and nobody really watches it anymore. Nobody really plays. It's just whatever kind of thing. I mean, we'll be going into a different type of All-Star just very shortly, talking about the NBA All-Star in just a few minutes. Some snubs. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was very vocal he was very upset that he didn't get in the Pro Bowl. Brandon Ayuk, who I think had a phenomenal season with the 49ers. When Debo was out for a few weeks or he wasn't having a good game, Ayuk was stepping up and playing phenomenal. I really liked him. I think he should be in the Pro Bowl. Antoine Winfield, another name that was missing from that list, I think, for the Pro Bowl. Yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think, though. Who got snubbed? Maybe who should not be on there? Josh Allen, another name you don't see on that Pro Bowl list. He didn't have a good season, but that's another elite quarterback in the National Football League that is missing on there. But I think the quarterbacks with Tua, Lamar, and Mahomes, really solid. I can see why Josh Allen didn't get in. He has been underperforming this season, that's for sure. But transitioning now to the basketball court, we saw Wemby versus Giannis on Thursday night, and that was a masterclass game. That was really good. These two freaks of nature, the French freak and the Greek freak, going at it on the court. It was amazing to watch. I mean, Wemby throwing lobs to himself, Giannis just being a freak of nature that he is. Really good game. It was fun to watch. Came down to the wire as well. So maybe this could be something brewing. A little rivalry between these two guys. I think it'd be cool just because of how athletically built these guys are. Totally different, and it's cool. It was fun to watch this game. The Bucks are a great team. The Spurs, they've been struggling lately, but they're still entertaining to watch. I think Trey Jones is a great point guard to kind of pair up with Wemby. I like it. I've been a Trey Jones fan since he was at Duke, and just watching him play, he's an all-around point guard, but you look at his assist to turnover ratio, it's beautiful. I mean, he rarely turns the ball over, and he's able to just pass the ball very crisply. And especially having somebody who's 7'2", like Victor Wembanyama, I mean, you shouldn't be able to turn the ball over. You just toss it up, he'll just grab it with one hand and reel it in. I mean, you can throw that ball 10 feet up in the air like you're taking a shot, and Wemby will just grab it and lay it in. So I think this is a good matchup between these two guys, and I would love to see it more at a more competitive level. If it's like, oh, I'm not even saying this will ever happen, but a Bucks Spurs finals, something like that, where it's going to be like, oh, the stakes are high. Yeah, that would be fun to watch. Draymond Green returned to practice with the Golden State Warriors. He hasn't played since December 13th, since he got suspended indefinitely. It's still up to Adam Silver whether or not he's going to come back, but yes, he's going to be practicing. He's going to be with the team. And that's all we know from Draymond. But this Warriors team, there's a lot going on right now. You know, these young guys, Kuminga came out saying that he does not like how Steve Kerr has been developing him and thinks that he should be used differently. The Warriors have been failing with these young guys. They have not been leading them to success. We saw Jordan Poole, and then they just got rid of him. The third splash bro, another guy who you kind of mold into the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, this build, and you're just unable to use them. You trade them. Kuminga, very good potential player, and it's sad to see because I think they're still riding on the big three with Draymond, Curry, and Thompson, that they can use these guys and they're still going to be like, okay, like we're living in the past. We're going to keep going with this because it helps us win. But at some point you got to be like, all right, we got to think of the future and be like, okay, what's next? Because Curry's not going to be playing forever. He's towards the end of his career. You know, you have to start thinking of the future. And if the chemistry in the locker room atmosphere is like this, it doesn't look good for the Warriors. This does not look good for your brand. Not going to help Steve Kerr out as a coach. And people are going to be like, oh, if I'm drafted there, I'm not going to be playing much and I'm going to be probably traded because they're going to be riding with Curry, Thompson, and Green still. And those guys can't play forever. Klay Thompson, he's been falling off. Draymond Green, nobody has any idea what's going on with him just because he's way all over the place. And Curry's Curry. He's still going to be hooping, but not at that level like we saw in 2016, 2017. Even recently, I mean, the last few years as well. Like we're not going to be seeing that anymore. So it's now time to be like, okay, as long as we still have Curry, Thompson, and Green, maybe we can build up our organization, training with these guys, having our vets coach these rookies and these guys in their second year to kind of coach them, mold them into the Warrior way, which it's chuck up a three and it magically goes in. No. But yeah, no, like train them in the offense. You get a good big man in there. Okay, do the elevator door screen like you do with Curry, but you can do that with some new guy that's going to be coming in. So I think the Warriors are failing at bringing these guys up and building them into these superstars because they're so focused on the past and what worked for them, but they're not adapting to what the new NBA is going to be like and what the new NBA is starting to become. I mean, we see it now. You know, with guys like Giannis, guys like Wemby, Jokic, these guys are all, we're seeing the NBA go back to this era of big men and freakishly athletic human beings running it, where the Warriors are just still living beyond the arc, which is still basketball today. However, that's not what it's always going to be like. You're going to need somebody who can live in your paint, you know, bully basketball like Zion does, or so that's just the NBA now. We're going back to this big man kind of style, but the Warriors are still living in that past, and they need to get out of it in order to start succeeding. I mean, I'm not even start succeeding, but start building a new legacy for that team. There'll always be the Curry and Thompson era, but what's the next era going to be? Similar with the Celtics, right? Fans love to live in 2008 and talk about their one championship that they've had in 30 years. Or do they go to the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown era and start building with that? That's what the Celtics are doing. Took them to one finals. We'll see what kind of happens in the future. This team is looking good. The Celtics are looking good. They have some all-stars. They certainly do. And speaking of NBA all-stars, this is what I think is going to be the all-star. This is who I voted for. In the East, I have Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid. Those are my three big guys in the front court. Looking at the back court, this is my vote. Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton putting up 24 and 12 a game so far. That's all-star caliber. And I love how they're going back to the East and West. I wonder what they're going to do with the jerseys, if they're going to do like the black and white that we saw with like their team logos, or are we going to go back to the jerseys, how we saw the home team and the away team wearing different colors. Definitely really cool. So I'm excited that the East-West is back. This is going to be a lot of fun. But that's my Eastern Conference All-Star voting. Again, Tatum, Giannis, Embiid, Brunson, Halliburton. Those are my 5 starters for the Eastern Conference for the NBA All-Star. And now going to the West Coast, I think, again, I think my point guards, I picked a hot take a little bit. But for my front court, I got KD, of course. Jokic, who had a game winner against the Warriors on Thursday night, which was a lot of fun to watch. That was a good game. The Warriors blew a double-digit lead within 5 minutes, and Jokic just heaved one up from half court. That's why you always heave, no matter what. LeBron, the king, of course he needs to be in there. And then I have SGA in my front court alongside with Anthony Edwards. I think Ant can really be an all-star starter, especially for the West. I think he's a great player, phenomenal. So yeah, that's my NBA All-Star voting for this season. That's who I think is going to be in it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Give some feedback, on who it's going to be. This could change, but I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to keep voting. Make sure to vote for the NBA All-Star. But I think it's going to be, I love the concept of East and West. I'm so happy it's back. Adam Silver, the best commissioner in all of sports, hands down. So yeah, let me know what you guys think for your NBA All-Star. Let me know about the Pro Bowl too. What are you guys thinking? Who was snubbed? Do you guys think they got it right for the votes? Let me know. But that's going to wrap things up today on today's episode of Halfway with Hathaway, first episode of the new year. So yeah, thank you all for listening. Really appreciate it. Make sure to follow, like, comment, subscribe, give a 5-star rating for the podcast wherever you are listening, and have a great day.